Hi folks, well I hope you're doing well. Before I get to the main gist of what I want to talk about today, I just want to mention that I'm running a Christmas prize draw for my subscribers as a kind of thank you, and I will put a link in for that. So if you guys want a free game for either the PS4 or the Xbox One, go and have a look at that one. There's no catches, it's just a free game. You go in the hat and anyone who wins it will get a free game, either digitally or a physical copy, and it'll be your choice. But anyway, let's get to the point of what we're going to talk about today. And that is, did Sony lie about the future of the original PS4 subsequent to the release of the PS4 Pro? Well, obviously it's an interesting question, and why am I asking it? Well, it came about as a result of the release of The Last Guardian. And if you have a look at Digital Foundry, you'll find that basically The Last Guardian runs really badly on the original PS4. Dropping down to as little as 20 frames per second, which is virtually unplayable. And I'll put a link into the Digital Foundry findings and you can go and have a look at those and make up your own mind. But people were speculating that this was maybe a deliberate push to try and make people go out and buy the PS4 Pro. And, well, I can't really discount this, but there's no real evidence for that, other than the performance issues themselves, obviously. And I would think that it's more likely that the game is just, well, not very efficient. As I say, it's just speculation, and Sony aren't about to tell us what's going on, are they? The other speculation is that this might be the start of a trend. That we might find that more and more developers are putting out games that have these kind of problems on the PS4 and then work perfectly well on the PS4 Pro. Now, I don't know about you, but there have been problems with games running on the PS4 Pro as well. And I'm not inclined to think that this is some kind of conspiracy. It's more likely that there's been a few cock-ups with the release, and especially with The Last Guardian, I think that maybe it's a game that's been in development a long time and it's just been a bit of a cock-up. But, you know, I might be wrong. So let's just have a quick look and see what Sony were telling us before the release of the PlayStation 4 Pro and then subsequently. And the first time we saw the PS4 Pro was at the PlayStation meeting. And again, I'll put a link into the video of that so you can have a look at it. And during that meeting, we got Andrew House saying things like, the standard PS4 is pretty much maxing out what 1080p TVs can do. That was 15 minutes, roughly 16 minutes in to that conference. And, well, we all know that was bullshit. And, well, you can see now that the PS4 certainly isn't pushing 1080 TVs with some of the newer games that are coming out. The idea there was that they were trying to push us into thinking that, hey, you know, the PS4's great and the Pro's going to be even better. Whereas actually it looks like increasingly the Pro is needed in order to get 1080p running at 30 frames per second, sometimes 60, but even 30, 1080p 30 on some of the newer games. He also said the Pro will sit alongside and complement the standard PS4. It is part of this generation. That was around about 17 minutes in. And he also went on to say that we'll instantly have hundreds of hours of high quality gaming experiences because of patches and stuff. And there's been a few issues there because not all developers are patching all their games. So not sure about that one. But the most interesting thing we saw was when Yoshida spoke to gameswelt in Germany. And he said, PS4 is PS4. New high-end PS4 is still PS4. So he was suggesting that, well, what we all knew, that we would keep the original PS4, albeit in a slightly new guise with the PS4 Slim, and we would also have the Pro, which would offer the enhanced visuals. So nowhere really were they being explicit about the PS4, the standard PS4, remaining viable once the PS4 Pro was released. But it was implicit in what they were saying. So they weren't lying as such, as far as I can tell. But then if you look at the guidelines, it gets even more interesting because it says games running in Neo mode, that's obviously PS4 Pro as we know it now, must operate at a native rendering resolution of 1920 by 1080p or higher. And it also says a game's frame rate must meet or exceed equivalent performance level on the base PlayStation 4 hardware. And that was from a Eurogamer article, and I'll put a link into that as well. What's interesting about that though is at no point during any of this are they talking about what must happen on the original PlayStation 4. So they're talking about the PlayStation 4 Pro, but they're not talking about the original PlayStation 4. It almost seems that they're being very careful not to say that the PlayStation 4, the original PlayStation 4, wouldn't have problems. Maybe they knew something. Maybe they knew that this might be coming down the pipe. So I couldn't find anything where they were explicit about there being issues between the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, and the idea that there might be a problem with the PS4, the original PS4, keeping up. However, it's fairly inevitable if you think about it. If you've got two tiers of hardware, the lower end product will naturally not perform as well. And we're already seeing this. What's strange is how quickly we've seen this. And that brings me back to The Last Guardian. I don't think anybody was expecting the power gap to be so obvious so quickly, especially not for a game that was so long in development. It could be that it's merely an example of a badly optimized piece of code, and that can be fixed with a patch. But it is a bit of a concern, because if this becomes a trend, it will leave the original PS4 owners with a system that's just not up to the task of running the games released for it. If you've ever tried to run the latest games on an underpowered PC, you'll see what I'm getting at. And it'll become extremely annoying extremely quickly. If Sony let this continue, we'll have a lot of disgruntled gamers. And we all know what gamers are like when they get disgruntled. They're not exactly quiet. So this could actually undo some of the good work that Sony have done. You know, they've created a great brand with the PlayStation, and the PS4 has become a great brand in its own right. But if we end up with this two-tiered system where the PS4 is really struggling to run games up to 30 frames a second, 30 frames a second, it's struggling, then, as I say, this will become a real problem. But did they actually lie? You know what? I don't think they did. Because, as I say, they were only ever explicit about all games being released on the PS4. They never said what level of quality they'd be or how well they'd run on the original PS4 versus the PS4 Pro. In fact, they talked exclusively about the PS4 Pro and how it would give graphical performance enhancements. Obviously, implicit in that, as far as I can see it, is that there may be a knock-on effect on the original PS4, because if you're developing up to the PS4 Pro, then on some level you are going to leave the original PS4 behind. It might just be, as I say, that The Last Guardian is a minor cock-up, and we'll have to wait and see for that. But if games do continue to be launched that run like a sloth in treacle on the original PS4, then we will have to conclude that they were at least guilty by omission, you know, by not telling us that this might happen. But then again, would you have expected them to? Really? I don't know. But anyway, that's what I think about it. What do you guys think? As usual, give us a thumbs up if you agree, thumbs down if you disagree, and come in the comments. You know, I always like to try and get into the comments and talk to you. So let's have a chat. And in the meantime, I'm, as usual, going to go and get myself a cup of tea. And I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.